All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Matt Miller of ESPN just released his mock draft, and I wanted to go over both picks for the New York Jets because it was a two-rounder here. So let's dive into it. With the 7th overall pick, he has the Jets selecting Will Campbell, offensive lineman from LSU. Now, Campbell's someone who I really like as a draft prospect, right? The tackle guard flexibility. Some people say he's maybe better fit for a guard. Some people seem more okay with the possibility of him playing tackle. I feel like we have this situation with at least one offensive lineman every single draft. But in the case of Will Campbell, this is someone who is experienced. He's been productive over the 3 years over with LSU. He's been an anchor for that Tigers offensive line. He does really, really good things in the running game. One of my favorite things about Campbell is he's super polished. He doesn't really have many weak spots in his game. Now, of course, the one thing that everyone mentions is the arm length. But, which is kind of why, because look, Will Campbell has been 31 starts at left tackle, but yet most of the projections have him as slotting inside to guard because of that arm length. We've seen offensive linemen make it work before, but for me personally, I think Will Campbell is one of these high floor types of players. Again, the versatility on the offensive line, good footwork, he's well-rounded. By the way, he was actually a 2-time captain at LSU. People rave about him as a teammate. He's tough. He plays, he's durable. And by the way, this is one of those draft classes where I actually feel really good about a lot of different situations. We're not locked into one or two different prospects. If we don't land either guy, we're screwed. Will Johnson from Michigan, McMillan, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter. What happens if one of the two quarterbacks fall? I'm totally open to trading back. I'm a huge fan of Malachi Starks, although I feel like maybe 7's a bit too high. Which, again, you can talk about a potential trade back. The point is the Jets can go in a bunch of different directions, similar to last season, right? If Joe Alt was on the board, Olu Fashanu, Brock Bowers, Romo Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Brian Thomas. He was my third ranked receiver in that last class, and I would have been totally fine if the Jets selected him. They could have went in a bunch of different directions. They traded back one spot and went with Olu. But going back to Will Campbell here, I think you can maybe argue, okay, if the Jets feel like he can play right tackle and start immediately, then you can justify this pick. And then also we have this whole AVT future thing coming up, right? With Vera Tucker, if he puts together a really solid season, I could easily see him asking for top guard money. And then if that's the case, if you feel good about maybe slotting Will Campbell into guard and then trying to find tackle again, I guess you can maybe argue that. Or do you want to keep him a tackle and just sign another guard or re-sign AVT on a big deal? However it plays out, I do think it makes sense only if the Jets feel comfortable with him playing right tackle. If not, then I don't really feel like this makes sense. We have our 4 others just solid, good to go. They're in there. And of course, this is before free agency, right? We don't know what happens with Aaron Rodgers. We don't know what happens with Devontae Adams, who are some of the free agents that the Jets bring in, who are guys that they lose. So obviously a lot of question marks here, but I love Will Campbell as a prospect, but I just don't know if it's the best fit for the Jets at this point in time. Again, unless they view him as a right tackle moving forward. And then in round 2, pick 42, he has the Jets going quarterback from Texas, Quinn Ewers. Now, there are things with Quinn Ewers that you do like, right? You like the wins, you like the production, you like the quick release. There's some throws that Quinn Ewers makes where it's just like you can only get it in one specific location and he gets it there. But then there's other plays where he just misses a wide open screen, or there's someone just screaming across the middle of the field and he airmails it, goes right over the receiver's head. Personally, I'm just not a fan of this pick. I don't necessarily want the Jets to reach on a quarterback, especially if it's QB3, QB4, QB5 in round 2 in a quote unquote weaker quarterback class. I do, when I look at the Jets, I look at a fresh start. We have a lot of roster holes. I'm more so if this quarterback class was similar to last season, Or even if the Jets wanted to go with the developmental quarterback in the later rounds, right? 3, you could justify round 4, round 5, then I'd be more open to it. But in round 2, I mean, I view this as a starter. Pick 42 overall. This to me is a starting player on this Jets team in 2025. And, you take a look at kind of like the broad scope of this draft class. You have your heavy hitters up top, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, like those types of guys. And then I want to say around pick 20 to pick probably 50, you're getting really, really good. Like you're getting a solid role player there. And the Jets obviously have 2 picks within the top 50. Again, for me personally, I don't like the idea of reaching on a quarterback in a weaker quarterback class with this valuable of a pick. I would much rather go corner. I would much rather go defensive tackle, right? Given this situation, Will Campbell in round 1. I want to come back in round 2 and go get that starter, right? Safety, corner, maybe tight end, you can argue here if the Jets really like one. Let's quickly just scroll down. Okay, so Elijah Arroyo, the tight end that we were talking about from Miami in the Senior Bowl, he has him going to the Dallas Cowboys at 44. Maxwell Hairston, corner from Kentucky, I would be all over that pick. Benjamin Morrison to the Falcons at 46 from Notre Dame. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. Really, really like him. Revel Jr. from East Carolina to the Arizona Cardinals at 47. TJ Sanders going to the Dolphins at 48. D tackle from South Carolina. Like I would rather have all of those players listed over Quinn at 42. Nothing against Quinn. I just have more questions than I do answers. And I don't want to be, having this big roll of the dice at 42. Now, of course, you can argue every draft pick is a roll of the dice. You don't have that confirmation, especially when we leave the first round. But for me, I have questions about mobility. I have questions about size. I have questions about just kind of the all over the place accuracy. I just find it really fascinating that some throws he makes they're just elite level throws. The touch is beautiful. Like you're just waiting for it, and like as the throws, or as the football's in the air, you're sitting there thinking like, man, if he connects on this pass, it's going to be a beauty. But then on other times, it's just running back rolling out of the backfield, ball's just out of bounds, wide open. So I don't know. It's a little rocky for me. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Right now, who are you thinking? First round pick, second round pick. I'm going to have a couple mock draft videos coming out pretty soon, like a full first round. And then, of course, the 7th round New York Jets mock. Now that we have our schemes in place, it's going to be, it's kind of like the answers to the test, right? Once you know the scheme, you can now identify the players that have the traits that fit these schemes. Of course, we haven't seen an NFL draft class with Aaron Glenn as head coach or Darren Muji as general manager. But with that said, it's much easier to do a mock draft now as opposed to a month ago. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.